regularly scheduled program. We'll start with Coach. We'll open up for questions from San Jose State.
All right, and we get to do this consistently now for the next few weeks. So just to start, no injury updates for you guys. Thought we did use the bye week and went back and like we would any bye week, but looked at what we were doing, how we were doing it, and used that for getting back to some fundamentals and some good football work that we needed to get done, just with our players and individual and things like that. Go back, look at the schemes, break everything down, look at the season, and what did we learn moving forward. And at this point, focus is on San Jose State, getting ready for that, having a great week of prep, and preparing for this game. So with that, questions?
I'm assuming you said that means nothing on Hank, but when you look back at what Chase did, I don't know if there's something that stood out to you about what you missed from Hank or anything like that, but how would you kind of assess what you saw quarterback-wise at BYU?
Well, yeah, I'm not going to go into what we missed because Hank didn't play, so that would be I don't think that's a very good question to answer that way. But as far as what happened at the quarterback position, we turned the ball over. The game was pretty matter of fact. You lose the field position battle, you lose the turnover battle. They are able to get some explosive plays. I mean, it's pretty much matter of fact when it comes down to it. That's what we looked at, and that's what we found out.
Have the the loss right before the bye week like that, the first loss of the season. How having that extra week, I guess, how did that kind of change things in terms of losing the game and going right into another week? You had the week there to focus on yourselves during the bye, like you said. What were some of the areas, I guess, that you guys noticed during the bye that had to be cleaned up?
Well, the same thing had we won, same areas. I mean, that's the one thing, the consistency piece. I hope you guys understand this. Win or lose, we go through the same process, and you look at, all right, what are you trying to improve on? It's always about that. That's the consistency piece of how we try to teach our players is regardless of win or lose, we're going to do things a certain way, and it needs to be better. And we talked about that after we won, and we certainly talked about it after we lost. But like we would use any bye week this time of year, I mean, we're midway through the season, go back, look at all the things that we did. We did well, we didn't do well, and we didn't do things well in wins. And we did some things really well in a loss. So to me, it comes back to the consistency piece that we've been talking about all season long. I mean, you just got to play consistent, and that's the key. Starting on a Sunday all the way through a Friday in your prep is, does that show up? And there were plenty of things throughout games that we won that it didn't, and there were things that in the game that we lost that it didn't. And you want to be a good football team, you're going to do that week in and week out. And I think we have a good football team. I don't think that we've been as consistent, or we've done that. Even coaches as well, everybody included. You win, you lose all together, and we certainly didn't do that leading into the last game. But so what do we do now moving forward? That's really the focus. How do we try to do those things better going into San Jose State? And we're on the road. San Jose State's a good team. Coach Brennan's done a great job. Their quarterback is playing well. Their wide receivers are doing a great job. Had a big win against Army, and that's a good football team, and they were on the road, and they were able to find a way to get it done. And, a lot of things defensively that stand out too, just their turnovers, how they're playing, what they're accomplishing on that side of the ball. So pretty much, our focus is completely on this game and what we're trying to get done against San Jose State. But we did use the week. We didn't sulk. We didn't sit there and pout about what had happened. We just used it to our advantage and tried to look at all the things that we have to improve on and get better. And I thought most guys did that. And I think most guys over the course of the week figured that out as we got into our practices. And we put a lot of work in. We didn't back off. These guys got a couple days to get their schoolwork and everything organized. And then we were back to work on Sunday. Energy was good. So it's just a refocusing of, all right, here's where we are. What do we need to accomplish this week? What do we got to get done? And our coaches relaying that information consistently to our guys.
No injury updates. That means Robert Mahone's injury is not season-ending?
That is correct. Yep.
Bryan, the last few press conferences, you were pretty consistent in talking about how making sure that everybody's preparing like they're the starter and all that stuff. I'm just curious, did any of that show up against BYU? Maybe not, and maybe this is just too literal, but on one of the plays that you gave up a touchdown, there was a backup in there, and that
Sure.
just might be too literal
Yeah.
of an example. But
No, good question. On that particular play, I wouldn't say there necessarily, but did some of the guys that are the backups prepare like they're the starter? No. You talk about it. Some guys do it. Chase Cord will do it, and most guys will do that, but not everybody does it that way. And then they get into the game, and all of a sudden their eyes get that big, and you're not ready for that moment, maybe because you felt like your preparation, what you should have done, all the homework you should have been doing, all the things that you're asked to do, stuff that came up in practice that we know, and all of a sudden you're thrown in the game. Yeah, those things come up, absolutely. And that's part of getting our guys and the coaches and everybody making sure those things don't happen throughout the week. But it's also on players, too. Everybody has to do their job. It's pretty simple. Get prepared, be ready to go, know the situations, know what you're getting into, know the type of team you're playing, and, just understand that. And some guys do it better than others when it comes down to it. And so hopefully our team, and that wasn't because of the loss. You go back and there's plays like that happened to us during wins, too. Same exact thing. And, these guys, and not always the same player, but guys learn that along the way, and that's why, when you win, you still have the same issues, and you still have to correct them. And you don't ever walk in here, at least I don't ever feel that way, where it's like, all right, phew, we won. We got away with that one right there. No, you look at it, and you're like, we won, but here's the problem. And it needs to be handled. And, really good coaches do that, really good players do that, really good teams do that. And you can still lose, but as long as you're correcting, you're fixing it, and you know what the issues are, and you're open and honest about it, then you have a chance. You have a chance to get back in the next game and go out there and win. I think these guys get that. I think they see that. But at some point, it's going to come back and get you. And it certainly, in that last game it did in certain situations. And not just as one particular player, but as a team, as coaches, everybody. And that's what you spend time on. That's what you learn. And to me, that's the fun part about what we do, because that's really the challenge that you have every week. 3.5 hours on Saturday, that's the challenge that everybody gets a chance to watch. The challenge is, how do you get these guys Sunday through Friday to do these things? And, if I had that answer, I'd be selling books and talking to coaches and doing clinics everywhere across the country and things like that. And so that's the challenge every week. That's the part I like. That's the preparation. That's what we talk about. Those are the things that we're trying to get done. And we have plenty good enough players and coaches to do that, but consistently that's where it's got to show up in the games and really throughout the week of practice, and it shows up in the games.
Coach, San Jose is top 4 or 5 in the country with 13 interceptions this year. What are they doing defensively to force so many turnovers?
Well, I think they're getting the ones that are thrown to them. That's one thing. Some teams, you'll see defenses and they'll have a ball thrown to them and they drop it, right? There's an opportunity for a turnover. There's not a guy around the ball's fumbled on the ground, and somebody's over there just loafing, and they could have had a chance to pick it up. Great example, go back to that Texas Tech at the end of that game. If you guys saw the end of that game, right, where they blocked the kick, and there was a poor decision made by that player, but then the Kansas State guy's right there, right? He's hustling, and he's on the ball, and it ends up being the game-changing play to win the game. So, those are examples of guys going hard, all right, being around the football, and I think San Jose State does that. They're around the ball. They're catching the ones that are thrown to them. And, I think they put teams in some tough situations, too, where they've had to make some throws or some difficult throws where they've been able to cause turnovers. And, you got to be aware of that. They got those type of numbers. They're second in the nation in INTs. They're really good in the red zone. Those are things that are standing out. Their defense is playing well. So there's the challenge. What are they doing well? Well, you look at that, and you've got to find a way to go out there, and how are you going to compete against that? But pay attention to those things. Give guys credit where credit's due, and they're doing a good job in those areas.
What do you see in their quarterback, Josh Love, and what about their receivers? It looked like they kind of had their way with Army over the weekend.
Yeah, well, they did. The receivers, I thought they played really well. I thought Love played really well in that game, and I've thought that since I had a chance to meet him in the summer. I think he's a very good player. He's shown that this season. Showed it in the last game against a good defense. We know that Army has a good defense, and they played well in the past. And those receivers were doing, kind of what they wanted to in that game. There was wide open guys and opportunities for the quarterback, and they made some great catches. The one player, I can't remember his name, receiver, made a great catch in the end zone, kind of battling for the ball, was on his knees. I think that was one of the highlights. But, yeah, they had a good game plan for Army, and they went out there, they executed, they made the plays that they needed to make. They made some plays that were some one-on-one competitive plays where they won the battle in those situations. So pretty good game plan and pretty well executed by their offense. And I got a chance to watch them, and that's the challenge. You go play on the road like that against a team like Army. Those are the things you got to pay attention to and make sure that you're ready to defend. And that's what we'll be working on all this week.
You guys are so used to playing night games, but I'm going to ask you to step into the time machine. 2004, you're on the staff. You played at San Jose State.
9 in the morning?
9 in the morning.
Oh, yeah. Remember that.
I want you to tell me a little bit if you have what you remember about that game and stuff. And, you guys have played early kicks, but obviously nothing like that one.
Dogfight game. Yeah, we thought we were actually excited about playing early in that game because, guys, I think every player is like, let's just get up and go. But I think you're getting up at like 4:30 in the morning, pre-games at 5 or something like that. I mean, it was ridiculous. And both teams, it was very sluggish. It was just a very sluggish game, back and forth. We had some package in that game plan. It was like a no-huddle package that it didn't work. We tried it a couple times, and just one of those games. But we hung in there long enough, the end of the game, so we block a field goal at the end of the game. And so special teams comes up huge, and, that was one of those, like, that's when you walk off the field and you're like, all right. Because you have no idea right after that game what just happened and how we played. And we went back and, we learned quite a bit from that game about our team and really, just our approach into that game. So, yeah, I remember I don't think we had much injuries in that one. We didn't limp into that game at all. We just didn't play well. We just played good enough at the end, and they did. And they're on, again, on the road, right? You got to go on the road and play teams. And they had some mojo, I think, in the second half of that game, and we finally just hung in there long enough and got it done.
I was actually going to ask about the late start. 7:30 Pacific time. This is going to be the 5th already this year that you've started after 8 in Boise. There's 2 more already guaranteed now with Wyoming next week. I know you don't control the times and all that, but what do you guys do all day? And does it matter if you're home or road in terms of if it's easier or harder to wait around till 8 p.m. to play? And you guys are likely going to have 8 of 12 and set a program record for the most 8:15 games this year.
No, like our Saturday, we'll get up, we'll have breakfast, we'll do a walkthrough, and then we'll finish. And then guys have families there, and they'll get a chance to hang out. Usually, and I'll take you right through it, I'll go get a workout in. After the workout, I like to get into the shower, and then I'll lay in bed and I'll watch football. I'm going to grab a book and read for about 20 minutes or so. And then it's about pregame meal time, so I'll go down there about 30 minutes early, make sure everything's set up, and then grab a cup of coffee, wait, we'll have pregame, pick the prayer guy, wait till after that, clap session, and then we'll watch the highlight video, get on the bus. Hopefully we got an escort. Doesn't take a long time. And then we're at the game. So Saturdays, to me, I actually enjoy those days, to be honest with you. There's a lot of time where you just get a chance to catch up. And we don't get to do that very, very often during the week. So, if my wife comes on the trip or some family member comes on the trip, you get a chance to catch up with them. And I actually enjoy that. So for me, personally, that's not a bad time of day to go out there and get some things done and get ready for a game. And then I like to watch college football too, so I get a chance to watch a lot of their games. So personally, I enjoy it. And then I like playing under the lights. That's always a fun way to go out there and play a Saturday night game. And usually we're one of the only games on, right, at that time, so we get all the attention. That's important for recruiting. I know our recruits love that. They love just to watch us and not be interrupted with other teams throughout the day.
Coach, DeAndre Pierce's teammates call him Coach DP all the time. That football IQ, is that something he came in here with or something you guys had to work with him to develop?
No, he came in there he's been developed. Yes, it's gotten better, and he's gotten better. But he came in here, and he's got a high football IQ. Dad coaches at Arizona State, played in the NFL. So that's been in their family for quite some time. But just because it's in the family doesn't mean that, somebody's going to pick it up. But he's got that. He's got a knack for it. What I remember about DP, we're at a camp in Long Beach, and he was there, and we were doing drills. And at the time, the DB coach, we were switching the drills to go the other direction. And what you're supposed to do as a coach is grab the cone and change the cone to the other side, right? Well, he didn't do that. DP grabs the cone and changes it to the other side, right? Because he knows, like, that's not how you're supposed to do it. If we're going to change from going from this way, we're going to move the cone over this side and have the start point. And that always stood out to me. Like, I was looking at him, I'm going, all right, well, that guy just made a better decision than our coach did. So that was one thing. And then at that same camp, we would, there's long lines of receivers and DBs going one-on-one, right? It's like that whole one-on-one show. And so he gets a rep, and then he's out. And then he jumps back in he cuts in front of somebody, gets another rep. He just kept getting reps over and over and over, and he stood out, because he just kept putting himself in there. And other guys would shy away from some of the dudes at wide receiver that were there, and he just jumped right in. And at the very end, there was a play. It was like a diving catch. He flips up in the air. I mean, he kind of jacked his back up on the play right there. But he had gone maybe 8-10 plays through this whole rack of receivers and that 15-minute window. And he was banged up a little bit, and he popped right back up and marched over there, and you could see how sore he was, and he was feeling it. And at that point, I was sold on this dude. Because you just watch him throughout the whole camp, and some guys will hang back at camps like that, and they're not going to compete, and he was right in the mix. Like, it didn't matter. It was a camp. It didn't matter if we were in the street. He was just going to compete. He knew what to do. He knew how to line up. He knew how to get guys organized. So he showed up with a lot of those qualities, and he's continued to enhance them since he's been here, in my opinion.
You know if that was a junior day camp or what year he was?
Oh, yeah, it was one of those summer. They're going into their senior year at that time. So it was one of those early camps that we do. I don't remember the exact date, but, we do our travel camps and things like that. It was one of the first ones.
Is there anything with George Halani, as he's it seems like every time he gets an opportunity, he kind of answers the call, and whether it be, a bigger workload, whatever it is there anything that's really stood out to you about him this season as we've gotten a little deeper in the season? And then, behind him, Andrew's just he just hasn't really gotten a groove yet.
Sure.
And if need be, is Danny Smith the guy that's ready to go? I know you've mentioned his name a couple times this year.
Yeah, well, I think Danny's ready to go. He's got to get an opportunity, and I think Andrew is as well. Andrew's a good player. He's got to get into a little bit of a groove. You had Rob going, you had George going, so Andrew's more than capable. He played well last year, and so it's just a matter of time before he gets going. But I like Andrew's mentality, that he brings to practice. He'll prepare himself to get ready to go, and I think he's a good football player. George is a guy came from a really good high school. I think that showed up when he got here, just the preparation that they do physically and the understanding of the game. So he's able to pick things up fairly quickly. I mean, he came from a good program, and it shows. You get guys like that. But also just his whole work ethic is really special. And it doesn't matter what he did the game before. He shows up Sunday. I mean, here's a guy, so you might go out there and have whatever yards rushing on Saturday night, maybe a later game, like we mentioned before, and you come back in on Sunday and you're going full speed out at practice. You don't have to do that, but that's how guys practice. Some guys just do things like that. And you're not going to tell a guy to slow down. You're not going to tell a guy to change his mentality. I mean, that's just what he brings to the table. So it's very obvious guys like that, how they stand out because of just how they prepare themselves. And they got one speed, it's full, and that's what he's got, and that's what he does, and that's just how he operates. And you appreciate that. You get 110 guys that do things like that and are able, and not just at a position where you're not playing a physical position. He's playing a physical position. And so those next days, I know he's feeling it, but he's still going. He's just got whatever. He's got that mechanism in him where he can just, boom, turn it on, and if it's time to go, you go. And that's just what he does. But George, George is a guy, he appreciates being here. He and his family have worked really hard for him to be in a position that he's in right now. And I won't go into the whole story and all that, but he appreciates all the opportunities he gets, and he's going to maximize it. And there's not a day goes by that he doesn't forget, just him being at Boise State. This is where he wanted to be. This is what he wants to do. This is the place that he chose, and he goes out there and he represents us, on the field at practice where nobody gets the chance to watch him as good as anybody's done since I've been here.
On a personal side of things, away from the coaching X's and O's, what's the best part of a bye week for you?
Well, good question. We got a chance to go out and recruit. Yeah, so, part of it, there's some things personally you get a chance to catch up on in the evenings. It's not the same grind to get all the work done for the next practice, so you have a little bit of time in the evening. So you catch up on some personal things. Coaches get a chance to get out a little bit earlier, so they catch up, on some rest and making sure just lives are in order. Sometimes we forget that. I mean, the one thing, everybody walks in this building, you'd like to have some things personally and professionally all aligned. And so they get a chance to do that. But a lot of coaches went on the road recruiting. We all did, got a chance to go watch some really good games and get out there and have presence. And, the one thing in Boise State, the brand is strong, and there's a lot of really positive reception to the places that we went. And we get to go see these guys that are the future. The best thing we can do is get our eyes on these players so we know what we're getting into. Do we like them? We like them on film. All right, watch them on the sideline, watch their demeanor, watch who they are, listen to their coaches face-to-face talk about them. And just know the kind of guys that we want to bring into this program. Because before you know it, boom, December comes around, we're signing guys, or we're getting the right guys that are going to stay here, do the work, are going to be the type of players we want them to be, or, we're going to be getting some guys in there that are going to flake out on us and, not be a part of this down the road. That's the key. That's recruiting. And recruiting this isn't the NFL. You can draft. In college football, you got to recruit. And you got to do a really good job of making the right evaluations on these players. And so it just takes the work to get out there and actually physically do it. And I really enjoy that. I had a chance to get out and do some recruiting. My son got a chance to go with me and be a part of it, which was awesome. And, he's a fan. He loves college football. He understands the recruiting process. He really enjoys that, knows a lot of players, and it was great. I mean, he got a chance to go with me and see it and watch a really great game and be a part of it and experience that. So that was a little enjoyable, kind of a personal, professional, thing that we got a chance to do. And but you all come back and the coaches talk about the guys that we saw and the guys we're excited about, maybe some of the guys we need a little more time on. And those conversations really, they're pretty fascinating when you just listen to stories. And things happen on the road too. There's always something. There's a rental car, there's a plane, there's something, there's a hotel room, there's coffee on the khaki pants, whatever it is. There's always a good story. So it's not just football all the time. And there's a lot of things that we discuss that make this job really enjoyable. And when you're focused on the type of team you're trying to build, and that's important to you, and I know it is to our staff, you come back and talk about those things. They all matter, they're enjoyable, and that's something we get a chance to do on a bye week. And I think everybody feels like on Sunday we come back in here, they're more fresh. They've got a chance to see some of the guys at their position that they're on, they're excited about, and they're ready to get back with our players and get to work. And so Sunday early, in the week, there's a lot of energy when you're coming back from a bye.
Coffee on the khaki pants, but
multiple. Yeah, it's never one.
With San Jose State, you've talked a little bit about some of the individual pieces, but as a team, they had 3 total wins the 2 previous seasons. This is the latest they've been 500 in a year since like 2013. To go win at Arkansas, to win at Army, like you said, what are you just seeing from a culture standpoint or the group as a whole of what Brent's doing there to have them in this position? Because not many people thought they'd be fighting for a bowl game this year.
Yeah, I don't know about the bowl game comment necessarily, but I know Brent, and I've known him for quite some time. When he was at San Jose State, that's where I got a chance to meet him. And I think he and I have a good relationship. We've always been very respectful and enjoyed being around each other, and I got a lot of respect for the type of coach that he is, and was excited for him when he got the job at San Jose State, because I know how he's worked his way at Oregon State and what he does and how he recruits and those type of things. So I don't know all the internal things that have gone on there. I just know that I see this football team. I see a team that's playing well on the road. They've won some big games, and obviously this last game, get a chance to watch that. They did a really nice job. And, I think the turnovers, some of the stats that you're talking about, the quarterback play, and other things that they've been doing that's shown up throughout the season. So, that's the challenge, right? And I think this too, like I said, I mean, there's very good coaches in this conference. There's very good players in this conference. So that doesn't surprise me one bit. And I don't think any week that we look at anybody on our schedule in the Mountain West and be like, all right, we're going to be good there. That's never been anything that I've ever been around. WAC, Mountain West, you name it. And so those guys are doing a good job. They're whatever reasons, they know that better than I do. I just know what we have to do for our team to get ourselves ready to go out there and play.
Last week, got the chance to talk to Marlene Tromp really for the first time, and kind of wondering what your opinions so far have been of her and what she brings to Boise State and what her interactions with you and the program have been like.
Yeah, awesome. And that's really, put it all in one word, awesome. All my interactions with her, I've had a couple meetings with her. Very high energy, I love that, and very enthusiastic about Boise State. I love that. I've had a chance to kind of share a little bit because it's a whirlwind. I remember, when I took the job here, and you're trying to do all these things and connect, and you're just trying to get a feel for what's going on around you. And certainly, hers is a lot bigger than what I was able to or had to do here with football. But she's at our games. She supports our team. She's at other games, other sports, and I think the vision and things that we talk about, there's a direction there which I like. There's things that are in place and plans that hopefully we move towards, and we've talked about those things. But overall, I mean, to me, I enjoy being around high energy, enthusiastic, positive, and visionaries that see opportunities. There's a lot of problems. Everybody can see all the problems. We talk about problems all the time. I mean, let's see what the potential is and what we can do. I mean, to me, Boise State, this place it's phenomenal as a university. I'm proud to be a part of the football program, and we've had success here, and hopefully that continues. It's growing. I mean, this place is it's moving in the right direction in a lot of ways, and so to have somebody there too that just is excited about that, I enjoy being around that. So every time I see her, I mean, even after a loss, she's right there, and I think she feels that with our team. I appreciate that too, and so, somebody who's right in it. And from speaking just as the football coach, those things matter. That's stuff that does not go unnoticed. And so, I'm excited about what she's doing and how things move forward. Football season's over. What do we do next? That's where a lot of the projects get talked about and what we want to do and how that's going to look and, what we start working on in that next phase or, what the next plan is. Did I say Kansas?